Hey, welcome back to Sonic Weekly. You made it. Happy holidays. It's the holiday episode. It's the last episode of 2024, the last episode of the year of Shadow. Our first episode since we recorded with the movie writers and co-producer, and our also first episode since Christmas. I'm Grant, one of the hosts. With us is Bo. Hi, Bo.
Feed me up. Hey, this episode will contain spoilers for Sonic Movie 3, so if you haven't seen it yet, just pause your podcast addict, go get a ticket, watch the movie, come back, unpause it, and we'll be right here for you.
And out of the shadows, into the spotlight, the star of the show, David the Lurker. Hi, David.
Whoa, hi, Grant. Hi, Bo. That's right. We are always here for you. If you need, an ear to listen, a shoulder to cry on, if you need somebody to pick up the kids after Little League. Actually, I don't know about that last one because I don't know where you live and I don't know who your kids are.
If you need a dad to step up, if you need a podcast to step up, Sonic Weekly is pretty reliable. We are pretty. We take a break here and there, but this is Boxing Day. This is the day after Christmas. Little known holiday. Don't know if you've heard of it. It's also the Hanukkah. Happy Hanukkah. Oh, yeah. It's we're all and like I said, New Year's will have happened before we record the next episode.
It's also Kwanzaa, right? Can't forget Kwanzaa.
Kwanzaa, it is Kwanzaa. Kwanzaa is yeah, that's right.
So Boxing Day, Kwanzaa, the first day of Hanukkah, and post-Christmas turkey guilt. Mm-hmm. I don't know. Like you ate too much. I don't know.
Sonic Movie 3 is a Christmas movie. Like we talked about the marketing where they like did all the Christmas, and there's the Christmas scene that was in the trailers, in the Robotnik fantasy sequence.
I wondered how they were going to work that in, and sure enough, they did.
That's right.
But okay, I guess I want to start here. Mentioned this previously on an episode that was hoping for Santa of the Grant to come through with a Sega Saturn with the Saru downloader thing where you don't need the discs, you don't need a fortune to play Burning Rangers, it's on the SD card. Came through, and now I feel like I have walked a mile in Bo's shoes, because every week on the show, most weeks on the show, Bo provides us with a glimpse into the rings of Saturn, the Burning Rangers news desk, what's going on in Saturn, and mostly I'm just listening politely, but because I don't know what the hell he's talking about, but I know somebody likes it, but now I get it. In a way, like I've played Burning Rangers for the first time.
Whoa!
I made a point to play Christmas Nights, which I had played on the Xbox version, but Burning Rangers locked to the Saturn is really fun. It's weird. The 32-bit generation as a whole, essentially, I skipped because I went from Sega Genesis to Nintendo 64. So the 32-bit graphics and the whole vibe of it is also like, man, I don't know. I get it. It's played some Clockwork Knight. I'm trying to go through and I took your advice, David. You had mentioned to like try to start with just like the launch games or even just like Sonic 3D Blast. So besides Christmas Nights, Sonic 3D Blast, and jumping around a little bit because you can with this. This is the best way to play a Saturn now. I think if you're coming in cold like I am, and there's some other YouTube videos and stuff that you can find that give greater insight into the process. But this is essentially it's the you could still get the discs and play them on the hardware, but you don't need to. It's been much better than emulation. And yeah, anyway, the Saturn, wow. Huge gap in my Sega overall fan knowledge. It's just such an insight into what an arcade-focused company they were for. You feel it in the Dreamcast too, but the Dreamcast and the Genesis or the Mega Drive do a lot of other things besides arcade games. And so does the Saturn, I guess. But so far, it's been like, gee, this could be Altered Beast, except it looks like Mortal Kombat graphics. Or it's like beautiful 2D sprite work, pixel art, or it's like that, kind of chunky 3D stuff that I like a lot. We are going to talk about movie 3. I hope you didn't stop listening. We're going to talk about movie 3, but I just wanted to say to Bo and David and to you that the Sega Saturn is what a cool machine. Top 3 Christmas present for me.
Wow.
Great machine.
Ever.
Yeah. I found the trivia questions that I had to answer on Sega.com to win some Saturn games that ultimately led to me getting the Saturn and such. And they are really, really bad. I can't believe how bad that they are. So here's one as a sample. What is Tails' first full name? And your options are first full name, yeah. Red Tails Fox, Sly Tails Fox, Skip, Tails Hunter. Miles, Tails Prowler.
Oh,
They muffed the joke.
damn.
They did. They're all wrong is the answer.
Yeah.
All
You would have
Yeah.
had, but because it was a 90s website form, you couldn't click other and be like, actually,
Yeah.
it's Miles.
Is there a
Tails.
way to contact the admin? Email?
Webmaster at Sega.com.
Right. I mean,
Right.
I do wish Sega was better at archiving their main websites. Sonic Team is unique in that you can see all of their websites back from Sonic Jam onwards until like, the PS3 era.
Yeah, you don't need the Wayback Machine. You just go to it.
They're just there. They're all there. People forget that, but they're all there. But like all the American websites, the European websites, the original Sonic Channel, all of those sites, some of them are in the Wayback Machine, some of them are only half in the Wayback Machine. It is a shame that you can't just look at how it exactly was in 97 and have fun with it. But yeah, I don't know. I just brought that up because you were mentioning these questions. Also, the earliest version of Sega.com is Christmas themed. It has a Sonic in a wreath. So
That's my first one, man. That is my earliest internet memories. Here's another puzzler though.
Yeah, you needed to.
What made Sonic Blue? A. Cold Air. B. Losing Princess Sally. C. Sonic Airwaves. Or D. Tight running shorts. Again, none of the above, right?
The answers are.
I guess
no.
it's C, but that's another contact the webmaster.
It's the treadmill in the Kintober story, right?
That's right. He goes fast, and it's the cobalt effect when he breaks the sound barrier. That's what turns him blue.
Cobalt.
Not Sonic Airwaves. That doesn't even make sense. That's not part of the fiction of Sonic's world at any point. But that must have been what you chose.
It must be the right answer.
Yes.
Yeah, because it's not any of the others. But what if it's not?
No. Although maybe it was Princess Sally. He lost her. What was going on in the comics in 97? She died, right? In 97?
Yep. Yeah.
So
he was blue emotionally, like Tobias Funke.
He was in the Blue Man group.
Yeah, Sonic blew himself.
Right.
That's E. Sonic did blue himself. He just was born blue. That's the answer.
Yeah, he was born blue, dabba dee dabba die.
Yeah. Like Wicked, like Elphaba and Wicked, just born green. Sonic, just born blue.
Right. Well, if Elphaba, how do you say her name?
I actually don't know.
Okay.
I just saw the movie today, and I tried to just say it fast.
Right. I think there's an important question to ask: is that if she had been born blue, would she have lived a different life?
Yeah.
Would everyone have looked at her at Oz University, which I know is not the name of the college that they all start in? Would they have looked at her and been like, "Whoa, you're blue and cool"? And so then, when Dorothy eventually shows up in the Land of Oz, like they're just high-fiving the whole time. Like, is that what would have happened?
You might be onto something, because all of the evil Sonics, unless you count Shadow, but generally they're green. Scourge is green.
Mm-hmm.
Surge is green.
Mm-hmm.
Ashura,
yeah.
Ashura is green. The brother in Sonic Underground, Manic.
Right.
Yeah,
well,
He's not evil twin, but he is green.
Right. He
Jet
grew
Hawk.
up. He grew up as a criminal. So
Okay.
I think
Battle Cuckoo, he's green.
Yeah, lots of green.
Back to the crocodile. Okay,
the
the Grinch.
The Grinch.
Welcome to the Hollows. Okay, we are going to talk about movie 3, and we're going to be joined by our friend who will tell you about in Act 2 when we get there. Because right now I want to know, David, did you ever have a Sega Saturn?
Yeah, that's what we talked about. I forget. I must have said it on the show. Christmas of '96 is when I got a Saturn, and it came with. My mother got 3D Blast, but it also came with Virtua Fighter 2, Virtua Cop, and Daytona USA, which was the 3 free games. That's how they were trying to get people to buy it because...
Oh, I just saw a thing today. A letter is on eBay that they sent to managers of Electronics Boutique, and they were just bribing them. And they were saying, every EB manager in the country, we're just going to send you a Saturn with some games. Tell us what you want.
Whoa.
Oh, wow.
Man.
It didn't work, I guess.
Yeah.
I want to go back in time and become a manager of an EB Games.
I think this was like late 95.
I mean, yeah, why not? I mean, we talked about the Saturn. We talked about how they botched their own launch.
Yeah.
Whoops, sorry, Sega.
But now we can all go super together, as if we're, say, on the moon together, just fucking vibing and just like on Saturn, feeling the Saturn energy. But I guess we should do a quick recap of the year, right? We should look back at the year of Shadow, 2024 as a whole. The hype of now that it's all here, we have everything. We have the game. We have the game with the movie DLC. We have the announcement for what's next, and of course, we have the movie. We also have the soundtrack and the Without You song. We also know that there's going to be a movie 4. They've already greenlit it. So the future is already pretty established now that we're here. So we can see pretty clearly on both sides, although I guess we're at the top of the roller coaster. We're at the end of the year anyway. But this has got to be, I'm not the first to observe it. It seems like the general consensus is that this is one of the best years, if not the best year, in the history of the franchise.
It's the best since 93, right? I feel like Sonic X Shadow, good game, or at least half a good game. And, the Knuckles show, that's a weird curveball that you might have gotten something like that in 93.
So easy to forget about the Knuckles show.
Oh,
but,
yeah.
That was the beginning of the year. And also, I don't care how many times we've said it, it's just insane that 1994 is Sonic the Hedgehog 3 and Knuckles. And then 30 years later, it's Knuckles and Sonic the Hedgehog 3. That is crazy.
Right.
That is the kind of thing that is going to make me believe in astrology.
Whoa.
Or at least extreme corporate competence, which both feel outlandish to me.
Right. I mean, 1994 is also when The Lion King was released.
Oh,
Jesus
damn, you're right.
fucking Kennedy.
And Sonic the Hedgehog 3 on the Genesis was released. And I mean, the Lion King video game
Oh my
for the
God.
Probably
Sega
right
Genesis
there,
was
yeah.
released in 1994. Also on
Simba
Super
X
Nintendo.
Mufasa Generations, money on the table.
Yeah.
Virgin Interactive, get it together.
There's a lot of parallels. We are in a 30-year cycle. We're seeing the echoes. Everything old is new again, or newt again. What is that?
Was there an Echo the Dolphin game in 94? Tied to Time?
Was that
probably
90?
on Sega CD. It was 93 or 94.
Right, I'm trying to think. Was Tied to Time
94.
94? Was it 94?
94.
Oh, yeah, you're right. It was 94.
The Tides of Time.
Echo.
Tides of time have shifted toward us, yeah.
All right, 95 was Echo Jr.
There you go.
Love Echo Jr. By the way, shout out to Echo Jr. My boy.
Wow. Right. So it's pretty exciting because in 2054, it's all going to happen again.
The Year of Silver, as foretold.
As foretold. Wow.
Oh, yeah, that's when the Crisis City catches fire.
Right. But yeah. Year
We'll
of
be
Shadow.
deep in the water wars by then. They'll look back on this podcast and be like, my God, they had no idea. Or maybe they had some idea, but boy, they liked Sonic. Because how could you not like Sonic in the year 2024?
That's right.
With the Knuckles show, the Wade Whipple show.
Yeah.
Smoovies, feel free to edit in a Knuckles take here. We know that you love it. I think probably the most of all of us.
Knuckles the Warrior puts character exploration first and action second. Wade was abandoned by his father, so he struggles with facing him in the championship for a sport they both share a passion for. Knuckles lost his father and home, and he struggles to plant roots on Earth. Through fighting foes and ex-friends, Knuckles helps Wade find the courage to face his father. Through family and culture, Wade shows Knuckles that home can be found anywhere. Knuckles toughens Wade. Wade softens Knuckles. It's interesting, heartwarming, strange, hilarious, and one of the best additions to the Sonic franchise. And it's also really funny.
I think it is a wonderful addition to the weird, wonderful canon of Sonic.
Yes,
like that
I
fourth
love that.
episode with the musical.
Yes.
That is right up there with the weirdest stuff that the franchise has ever produced.
Yeah.
And I'm really glad it's there.
Right. Without diving too deep into the movie itself, I would say Knuckles is required viewing if you want one very specific scene to somehow excite you. Because even though, some stuff about the Knuckles show I love, and some of it I was like, I'm really confused by why this exists. All of it, like the moment Wade showed his face in that film, I was like, oh yeah, this is happening. I am so excited about Wade Whipple just existing. So
It was the perfect use of Wade. I agree.
it was the perfect use of Wade. Ah, man, perfect use of Wade, perfect use of the year of Shadow, right? I bet Wade Whipple's going to have a huge Shadow tattoo on his back. We're going to see that happen.
Wade has yet to meet Shadow.
That's true.
Right? They don't share screen time.
Well, Wade season 2, I mean, he's got to be partnered with someone.
Keanu and Idris Elba were talking about a Knuckles and Shadow show, which I think is really interesting because we have there's nothing to pull from. I don't even think in the comics they interact much.
Exchanged dialogue outside of Team Sonic Racing.
Right. They've certainly met. They know each other exists, but yeah, certainly in the IDW comic, it's not like we've had any long Knuckles Shadow story. I don't know how much have you think?
I think you got to turn to fan fiction, Sonic or Knuckles X Shadow, rather.
Knuckles X, right? I'm trying to think in Archie, if they ever had like a moment, but I can't.
No, it's Slash. Sorry,
Slash.
A little bit, but yeah, I think really just probably fewer pages altogether than would fill up a single floppy issue.
I guess future Knuckles, from the Ian Flynn version of Mobius 25/30 years later, Shadow was definitely King Shadow. So Knuckles wasn't very happy with him. But even then, that story is really focusing on Sonic, and then the sequel's focusing on the kids. So it's not like Knuckles does a whole lot with Shadow anyway.
It's an interesting situation that the Sonic Paramount franchise now finds itself in, having covered Sonic 3 and Knuckles in movie 2 and covering Sonic Adventure 2 in movie 3. It's not like there's nothing, but it does become a lot more open-ended after what they seem to be setting up themselves up for with 4. And we mentioned up at the top that there's spoilers here, so while we're talking about the franchise as a whole, we should be looking back, but fuck it.
Can't help it.
I can't help it. But okay, so if movie 4 is Amy and Metal, right?
I want it to be the 06 story with Amy and the Silver Roll, basically.
Oh, okay.
I've seen that thought. It seems like a lot of people have arrived at that thought, myself included, and I like that a lot. And I think that's a great way to do both CD and 06 and like do like a Back to the Future 2 kind of thing, because like each movie is like a different genre in the Sonic series. And so like doing a time travel movie, there's more things for the filmmakers, I feel like, to pull from their own interests, which enrich the movies. And like when it's not just purely from the games and being like, well, the game had this, so we have to do this. They've been really good about, picking and choosing, I think, the right elements.
If I were the consultant, I know it's Metal Sonic, but I would want to do Amy comes back from the future to stop Perfect Chaos. Like, get that story in there, but maybe that should be the next movie.
Right. I think Perfect Chaos is as big of a long shot as anything. But I do think if Perfect Chaos is going to be part of anything, I could absolutely see it being part of Metal, right? Because Metal Overlord, like that's like, so where does the chaos energy come from? So chaos could be a good way to do something. But I highly doubt that Sonic Adventure 1 story structurally, in terms of the story structure, like just because like they've talked about it in terms the thing of like not wanting to do the Avengers thing of racing around and doing a bunch of vignettes, that that makes sense. And we've seen how emeralds are just one thing rather than 7,
right?
But maybe E102 story could be somehow translated to Metal. I don't know how, because it's not a bird, but maybe it's the OVA thing of like Metal gaining sentience. Why am I fanficking the next movie? It's because it's so exciting. It's so tantalizing of like, gosh, this is really, outside of Rouge, this is pretty much the cast. And then after that, I mean, you really, really have all your bases covered, I think, once you have Amy and Metal involved. Then it's like Infinite might as well be on the table, as much as Big the Cat, as much as Jet the Hawk, as much as Tangle and Whisper, as much as Cream and Vanilla. Feel free to stop me. As much as anyway, the Year of Shadow, so it began with Knuckles, ended with Sonic 3, and 30 years ago, Echo: The Tides of Time, Sonic Weekly. This is why we do it, because 30 years from now, David Jr., Modern Beau, and Silver Pardee will continue this horrible cursed legacy
Wow.
of documenting the emotions of the fan base each step of the way.
It's like those people who always go, "Oh man, what if all of the Beatles kids came together and did their own Beatle?" And it's like they don't want to.
Yeah.
But we could have something like, can you on a birth certificate force your infant child into a contract to follow your podcast legacy? Is that a thing?
I think legally anything is on the table in 2025. I think it's who knows?
Right. It's the Wild West. Also, Grant, you shouldn't apologize for wanting to look forward, because you are simply evoking the spirit of Sonic, where he says, of course, I'll never look back. I've got no regrets. Because time doesn't wait for me. I choose to go my own way. Saying that, we could talk a bit more, I guess, about the year. Well, what is there that we have talked all year about the Year of Shadow?
You're right. That's true.
It basically, yes, it is one of the strongest years just in general of Sonic. Like you said, 93 is a good rival, because even though you have other years where it's like, oh, 99, we got Sonic Adventure, great. But what else was there?
No other media besides Archie.
Right.
Yeah.
We got CD.
2 cartoons.
Right.
CD, Spinball. Yeah.
Right. That's also when, Fleetway began. That's when Archie became an ongoing series. 93 is just a plethora.
You're right. Because Sonic 2 comes out at the end of 1992.
Yeah.
So 93 is really when you feel the effect of.
Yes. Right.
It's the Cambrian explosion of Sonic.
Sonic is injected into your veins. And 94,
that's when I got in, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, me too.
Right. SatAM was canceled in 94, right?
Right.
Well, that's when the last episode aired. So, yeah, and other than that, I know they've tried to have some years of Sonic. 2014 was a designated year of Sonic, but that was Sonic Boom. 2003 was a designated year of Sonic, but Sonic Heroes didn't even come out in the West until January of 2004. I guess that's more an attempted year of Sonic in Japan. Like, that's when Sonic X started. Heroes did come out at the tail end. I'm trying to think what else. I guess Battle came out at the same time as Heroes, but really that was more like, oh, we tried to do a year of Shadow or a year of Sonic, and it didn't really happen until the next year. And even then, it's like Heroes was a falling off point, I think, for a lot of people.
17 with Mania and Forces also.
Right. It's like Mania, great, Forces. I think it's easier to look at Forces and not be like, I've definitely softened about Forces, but it's because we've had Frontiers and Shadow Generations and all these other things. Like when Forces was it for years.
Yeah,
it's a lot more
if you take the good parts, they're fine, but there's not much left there.
Right.
Okay. I think very compelling point that we have done the year in review all year. So go back and listen to the backlog for the full extent of our thoughts. But is there maybe any last thought, Bo? Because David, I feel like that was a pretty good soliloquy on it. Any thoughts from...
Yeah, my favorite thing of the year is going to be the movie, which we'll get into with our guest. But overall, like I said, strongest year ever. And I don't know if they can top it.
Yeah, I mean, it might all be downhill from here. That's our attempt at pessimism. We're too optimistic to be that pessimistic.
No, but Ashlyn foretold it with the fortune teller cards.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, I mean, it's true. Like, it can't be peak forever. It has to. Otherwise, what does peak mean?
Right.
It eventually has to go back down to mid.
Oh, well, there was some interview with the Sega West CEO, an interview with the BBC. Shuji Utsumi, which I may have mispronounced completely, did say about Sonic in the future, right? What's the headline? That they must, quote, make a great Sonic game. So Sega is setting themselves up by basically going, yeah, we've released Frontiers, Sonic X Shadow Generations, but we need to release a great Sonic game. So they're putting pressure and expectation and saying this is only the beginning. What we as a fan base has gone, oh yeah, this is peak. Maybe Sega inside is like, yeah, like we're doing great, but we should make this our mid and aim for even greater heights.
Holy shit. And that is where we'll take a break and be right back with our guest and the movie 3 review. And we'll jump right back into it like that, because we're back into it. But now we're joined by our guest for the episode. And I'm going to say his first name, but I'm also going to say Double Dash Studios. I'm going to say Jarrell's brother. Check it out on Nintendo Switch. Check it out on Xbox. Check it out on Steam. Check it out, ? On PlayStation?
No, not now.
What about the Game Boy Advance? Is it on there?
We're trying, but it's hard. I really want it on the 3DS. I think it would make sense, but no.
And that's our friend Jandê that you're hearing from, and game developer and Brazilian, and now an international broadcast, and old friend. Previously on Sonic Weekly with Michael Stearns to talk about what was the topic?
I think we were talking about Sonic R, maybe.
Yeah. I just got a Saturn.
I think so.
Yeah. It's been a big deal for me.
Right.
Anyway.
Well, hello, everyone.
Well, hello.
I'm glad to be here.
So, Echo, The Tides of Time comes out in 1994. Lion King comes out in 1994. Here we are, Mufasa. Mufasa just to the box office. You were just telling us about this, David, off recording, but now we are recording.
Yeah. We are recording because we did over the past weekend, because we are recording as the next weekend is approaching. We are recording on the 26th. I've shattered the illusion that this is forever. Like, we are recording the moment it releases. So previous weekend, Sonic 3 comes out. Let's say, why not? It absolutely destroys Mufasa: The Lion King. As in, look, Sonic made a lot of money, right?
Double the take.
You're right. It was like a 50 million to a 35. So it was like Sonic, #1 movie in America. That's what all the Twitter accounts said. But Disney said, hey, we're #1 in the world, because they released all over the place. So I think technically Mufasa is still ahead of Sonic global box office. But and
Sonic is still releasing internationally. It just came out today, or tomorrow in Japan.
Yeah, and it just came out in the UK
yesterday in Brazil.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, so it is still rolling out. Mufasa was all at once. Sonic is rolling out over the course of a few days. Christmas box office, Mufasa did beat Sonic domestically, and by domestically I mean the United States, because that's where I am. But Sonic is still beating Mufasa overall in America. And I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if now that Sonic's rolling out internationally that it will be more neck and neck. I think it's hard to say whether or not Sonic will beat Mufasa in that global take. But review-wise, it's certainly doing better than Mufasa. Sonic 3, Rotten Tomatoes, has the 88% certified fresh, the first Sonic film to be certified fresh, and also the highest rated video game adaptation in Rotten Tomatoes history, beating out Werewolves Within that had the 86%. Mufasa, not as high in those numbers. It's a 55%. The popcorn meter is 88%, but guess what? Sonic's popcorn meter is 97%. Sonic cinema score of A. Sonic. I didn't look up the Metacritic. Let's say, look, we don't need to talk about the Metacritic number.
Metacritic's a little harsher, but the point is that it's doing great in comparison to video game movies. It's doing great compared to Disney's big holiday release based on The Lion King, and it is doing better than Sonic 2, but just a little bit better, like a few million better, not necessarily a whole lot better. At least that was the take that I was seeing. I don't know if that's accurate though.
Yeah,
I think that's right. It's ahead tens of millions of dollars, but it's like a different competitive landscape. It's a different time of year. Biden's economy, inflation.
I feel like it's good for it to be better than Sonic 2, so that they will confidently greenlight Sonic 4. But I think it's maybe also good for it to not blow the doors down, in terms of box office, because then they're not going to get too cocky. They got to keep their eye on the ball one movie at a time. Don't go too nuts with Shadow and Knuckles, and then Sonic 4 Shadow film, and you're starting to expand. You're putting out the 32X, the Sega CD, and the Sega Saturn into the same overcrowded market, and you're blowing it. So don't do that.
Right. It's a world where the Sega Genesis is by itself. That's what we're dealing with.
Wait, are you talking about what, like Chaotix series on Paramount?
Chaotic spinoff, yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't hate it. I would still be, I would still resubscribe to Paramount Plus for it.
Yeah, I mean, it is from the same producers as the Fast and the Furious, and that franchise has wanted to. It's wanted to spin off and do, like, there was one spin off, the Hobbs and Shaw film, which I guess didn't do too great, and there was an animated series that I don't know anyone has ever seen. But sometimes you just want to focus, and like if there is a good story to tell to the side, tell it. Don't force yourself to tell it. Some might argue, did we need to know about Wade? The answer, of course, is yes. We needed Wade the series.
It all tied in.
Yeah. Well, let's ask our guest, Jandê. How did you feel about Sonic 3? You said it just came out yesterday. Were you there the moment it opened? Were you dressed as Sonic when you watched it?
So I was wearing a Sonic T-shirt and Sonic socks.
Ooh.
But so I was as Sonic as I could be. But yeah, so I had some trouble actually to see the movie, because movies that are geared toward kids, they are dubbed here in Brazil. That is very, very common. So depending of the franchise, depending of the movie, it's a little bit hard to find like a subbed version of the movie. And with Sonic, there were just like 2 theaters showing Sonic in English, and I wanted to see, like, I saw Sonic 1 and Sonic 2 in English in the movies in theater with no problem. But Sonic 3, there was just 2 theaters, and they were far away from where I live, so I had some trouble going there, but I did. And I went there, and it was really, really good, because I wanted to see the movie with Keanu Reeves playing Shadow, and Ben Schwartz playing Sonic again, and Idris Elba and Colleen and everyone. I was hearing about a lot of Sonic fans here in Brazil. They were watching the movie in Portuguese because that was the only option. But yeah, I saw the movie yesterday, and I was really, really pleased with it. And the theater respect, actually, because
with,
it was
Sonic fans,
with Sonic fans.
mix?
Yeah, the Sonic fans, mostly Sonic fans, like old Sonic fans. People were like, it was like from their in their 20s and 30s and maybe 40s, wearing Sonic T-shirts, watching Sonic in English. But yeah, but it was really, really fun. It was really, really fun.
Let's start with the cast in terms of breaking the movie down and talking about it. And Keanu Reeves, we talked a little bit about it when we first heard his voice, but now hearing the full, he was amazing. Somehow he sounds just like Shadow, how he should be, without sounding like he's doing an imitation of Game Shadow. And he also just sounds like Keanu talking and like emoting in a Keanu spectrum of what emotions sound like. I thought he was perfect for it. It was my favorite. I thought Tails and Knuckles, performance-wise, also was fantastic. And my favorite version of Ben Schwartz is Sonic. But the Oscar should go to Jim Carrey for somehow playing great physical comedy with Gerald and Ivo, but also injecting like a little bit of pathos into it. Gerald, in the moment when Maria has died, we get like one shot of his eyes. He looks broken and horrified by what's just happened. He's this cartoon character, but like the shot of that, it just focuses on his eyes, and it's great. And like Ivo, when he hears, Maria, like that's like Jim Carrey like sells the love and the desperation, and you can just we heard a lot last week from Pat Casey and Josh Miller and Tyson Hess about how much Jim Carrey brings into, and I just feel like you can see it. Like you can see that there's a lot of energy being put into the the craft of those characters, and I thought it was awesome.
Yeah, no, I have to agree. I think because we don't know if Jim Carrey is coming back for 4. It's a minor miracle that he came back for 3, I think. And if this is the final performance of Jim Carrey Robotnik, I think he went out on a high note. Like we really got to explore him. Yeah, he is more fully formed. Like there is a familial connection, and I know in the games, yes, he has a family. He has a grandfather, but in Sonic Adventure 2, Gerald is dead. Maria is dead. It's just these echoes, and we don't really know how he feels about it. It's only in recent times, in this Year of Shadow, or I guess in Frontiers, we started getting sprinklings of like, how does Eggman actually feel about his past? We really get to see that, feel that, and get a better sense of who this Robotnik is. And so if this is the final time we get to see it, it feels like it went full circle. It feels like we got closure from the character. And anything after this is just more of a bonus. Even if he ends up being a glorified cameo in the next film, I think we got our money's worth when it came to who is Robotnik, who is Eggman, and where does he fit in this crazy world we live in. I think it worked well, for the most part. Like, yeah, I am glad that we got Carrey as Robotnik at the end of the day.
Yeah, just one Oscar. Give it to Jim Carrey twice.
Just
no dispute there. But also shout out to Maria's actress, Alia Brown.
Right.
I feel like she really sold why does Shadow care about Maria? Why does Gerald care about Maria? Like 70s girl, goofy. You can see why Shadow wants to destroy the world because she's gone.
Right.
And
she wrote Live and Learn
up until now. Yeah, she played the chords of Live and Learn on her guitar early on. I caught that reference. I was very happy.
Yeah,
she's filing the lawsuit, I think.
Right, she wrote it in the 70s. That's right. There's the proof right there.
One anachronistic thing being that the Traveling Wilburys, which I loved the placement of that song. I love that song. That song that I can't think of the name of. End of the road, end of the line.
Those definitely 80s.
Was 80s and not 70s, and film's a big lie. It's a big fat lie. Says it takes place in the real world. Oh, does it? Then how are they listening to the Traveling Wilburys in the 1970s? George Harrison has not yet formed the supergroup with Roy Orbison. And hey, Beatles references. Not only are the Traveling Wilburys featured in the soundtrack, but Ringo, one of 2 living Beatles, is dissed by Sonic because he goes, John, Paul, George, and the other one. I would have left out John or George. I would think I would have left out John because everybody knows John. So it's like, I'd go Paul, George, Ringo, bingo, ding. I don't know. It just felt bad for Ringo that he was the one that was forgotten. But
right, maybe Ringo
to Ringo, peace and love.
Yeah. That's a regular American Beatles joke, like dissing Ringo.
Yeah.
Right. Even though Ringo was the most popular in the early 60s, everyone loved Ringo for whatever reason.
In the US, he was the first one that was popular.
Yes.
Of the Beatles.
But
according to this Disney documentary that I just watched.
Beatles 64. I haven't watched it yet.
That one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it good? Did you like it?
I only had it on PlayStation.
Don't know. I've heard some. Right. I've heard some things where I'm like, I don't know, maybe. But this isn't a Beatles podcast, contrary to most episodes would like you to think.
Well, it's just relevant because Sonic has now, he's thinking of things to do while he's in London. This is a globe-trotting adventure. It also does the Man of Steel thing of like during like Dragon Ball fight where like they're punching, it's like boom, then they're in the pyramids, boom, then they're in the ocean, boom, then they're on the moon. Super cool. Love that.
Actually, there was a scene that was very reminiscent of Injustice, actually. Maybe Injustice 2 or Injustice 1. I don't know. It looked like one of the specials that you could do with Superman and Injustice, with Shadow punching Sonic through different continents,
Mm.
which was really cool. It was actually really, really cool to see. But coming back a little bit to Maria, I think one of the very interesting things with Maria is that we never saw in the games that kind of we never saw how she was friends with Shadow. We always saw like her like oh Shadow, please save the humanity, whatever. But we never saw how they were friends, how she was like, oh, she's like a kid. It was to me, it was really interesting how Maria acts just like Sonic.
Yes.
She's like a spunky kid. She's like a fun kid, just like Sonic. Like strapping, like tying a rope to Shadow, who is like the ultimate life form, and like run and being on roller skates is a really movie Sonic thing to do. And all of those flashback scenes were really, really they were always bringing like a smile to my face, and actually wanted to see like more of that. I would watch an entire episode of like Shadow reminiscing about Maria, because that was really fun and endearing. And you could feel why Shadow would grieve so much about the loss of that person. And that is, I think that is something that it's better than the games. When you think like, oh, this is really good and it's a little bit different from the games, but it's better. That's one of the things.
Yeah, they've got to sell. He wants to destroy the world over this. And if you lost your quirky 1970s girlfriend, who was her, you would also want to destroy the world, was my feeling.
You got to be careful. Did you see Ben Schwartz
Stephen
on
Colbert?
Yes. Stephen
Yeah.
Colbert.
There's the fan debate of what is the relationship between Shadow X Maria for generations.
Yeah.
And I think everybody's I guess it's always been like a sisterly brother sister sibling thing.
Yes, it's always been more a sibling thing, certainly in the games. I think it's probably still more sibling-ish. Like I don't get the sense in the movie they never went, oh, but what if? Like no, it's still it's sibling, it's best friend. It's just like it's two kids having fun in a place where you think they wouldn't have fun. And I mean, I really think it does a lot. Yes, the movie does a lot for Maria. I got to agree with that. I mean, just the way that we're introduced to her in the games, she sort of serves as like she's like this perfect, sweet, innocent girl. Tragedy is struck. There's tragedy beforehand. She's supposed to die. She's got NIDS. Shadow's meant to save her. In the recent stuff, it's like, oh, he feels guilt because the ultimate life form wasn't able to save her. Aside from, I guess they went to school and they would sit and look at the sky and go, I wonder how Earth is. Like here, right from the get-go, there's the guitar. Oh, this is the type of music she listens to. This is the type of music she plays. We see a living space. Like we've never seen a living quarters for her on the Ark. We get to the roller skates just does a lot. And like what is her relationship with just other people on the base? Like you remove the fact that she's dying, so it is just then you can just focus in, because Shadow is from space. He lands, he's in a comet. Oh no, Black Doom, is that what we're going to get at some point? Like when you remove Shadow's reason for existence is to save Maria, when Shadow just exists, like then you can really just focus on this relationship between the two of them, and like what does Maria show Shadow and what can Shadow show Maria, and like it feels super genuine and super real, and like it does a lot for Maria in a way the games just haven't been able to, because that's not the story the games are trying to tell. Also because we don't see them at that time. Most of the time Maria's dead, and even in Shadow Generations there's some great stuff between Shadow and Maria, but it is a different Shadow who is staring at his past. He is going to have a different relationship with this Maria, but the movie gives us something great. And yeah, I can keep on going, but I feel like I'm going to repeat myself, so let's
it's well said. And yeah, it's for the first time it's not about Maria's death, it's about Maria's life. We get to see her as a living person, and for the first time we get to see a Shadow that is confused and has amnesia, but is also very innocent, but very quickly, like I love that, they narrowed in on what is Gerald ultimately doing with the ultimate life form. He's experimenting on him. He's not, but Maria sees the humanity in Shadow, and they connect on that level. And I'm glad, it might have been interesting if she was also a patient, but I'm glad that it was there, that she was just there as Gerald's granddaughter, and why she was there was not. It was just more about how she was there, like what she was doing with Shadow, and like what we got to see, from a version of Shadow that we have never seen before. So for Shadow fans, I think huge.
So I thought Maria was a highlight, but I want to come to the big highlight, which is the first 30 minutes. Holy moly, what an opening to the movie. You've got introducing Shadow on Prison Island. You've got
Yorma Tacone
introducing Sonic and team. Get them out to Tokyo. You get Sonic jumping out of the helicopter. I blown apart by that.
Low budget flight.
Oh my gosh.
I was
I've seen,
hit me right between the eyes.
Yeah.
He said the line.
Then you get a Shadow fight right there.
Also that song Neon.
Yeah, you get One OK Rock.
Yeah, they're like the unofficial like new Sonic band.
As long as they don't try to sue Sega.
Also in the first half hour, you get Goldfinger 99 Red Balloons. One of my favorite songs.
Expertly placed.
Man, that first act is the most fun I've had in a movie theater in maybe ever.
It just goes like there is no downtime in that beginning, really.
Yeah.
It does a lot of work too to like remind you of Longclaw. You see Sonic's cave, like Team Sonic, and as Sonic is his power being fast. Like you see that challenge of like, wait, did he really lose the race? Oh no, it's holograms. Oh, it's B. Arthur Day.
Yeah.
So the characters are growing up, like, which has been like if Sonic wasn't a cartoon hedgehog and it was about like a alien, but he looks like a kid, he would be getting a little older, and like that is part of what's happening. Sonic's growing up, and he's learning to be a teammate and somebody that can. And so I loved Team Sonic. I thought Knuckles. This was the one of the best depictions of Knuckles in anything, and same for Tails. Tails had a lot of great moments. So for it to be Shadow and Gerald and Ivo, especially in the beginning, in that first 30 minutes, a lot of good character work.
Yeah.
It also introduced the idea of Shadow being Sonic without the love and caring of his friends and family.
Yeah, they hit that like very much on the nose, right? Like I think well placed.
Yeah, he says like I would be a completely different hedgehog, and it shows Shadow. And it's something that was never explored in the game. Like that this duality between Sonic and Shadow, like why do they take different paths? It's never explored. And in this movie, it's like it's really well explored. I think it was a really smart idea doing that, because it's a doppelganger. He's Sonic's doppelganger. He was always introduced as Sonic's doppelganger, but there's never like this discussion about why one is evil and the other one is good. It's just that's what they are. Sonic is good. Okay, that's the game, But in the movie, it's like they actually thought about it. I think it was really great.
I love that comedy beat of, well, okay, the lungs was great, but also the first meeting of Sonic and Shadow of why do you look like me?
Yeah,
that little back and forth, perfect.
Yeah,
right.
That first act, I think anybody can enjoy in a movie experience. It's breakneck pace, boom, boom, boom. We're fighting Shadow real quick. But just so densely packed with references.
Yes.
You've got the helicopter line, you've got the Chow Garden, you've got Knights and Samba de Amigo in one shot in the Chow Garden.
Wait,
you've got Team
I
Sonic
didn't
formation.
see Samba de Amigo. What?
Oh, the Knights Chow has on the hat and he's got the maracas.
Oh my God, I gotta go to the movies again.
There's a sign for Sub Burger. Everyone loves a Sub Burger. There's Chaos
Soda.
And then Primal Venom version.
The mysterious date.
Right, the mysterious character.
Right.
Mysterious character, which may be intentional, maybe we're going insane.
Right. We were 4 days away from that date that's on the sign, but there's no sign there. There's been nothing to say the date means anything. But I mean, her being there, I guess we should also mention that apparently Tori is the name that is used in the Gerald Journal in the Japanese version. You know, in the beginning, when there's a note to Commander Abraham Towers, in the English version, it's just signed -T, but in Japanese, it's Tori.
Wow.
Right. So she's Professor Tori. If it has something to do, like, there's a lot of theories about, is it connecting to archaeology? Because now we know that Eggman had 2 kids, one into robotics, one into archaeology. Like, is Professor Tori part of the Eggman lineage? Like, there's all sorts of things like opening up and like just ready to be dived into. I mean, it feels like Sega wants to do something with this character, especially throwing her into Sonic 3. I don't think they would, like, if it was a drawing of the early Rabbit concept art on a billboard, like, that would be cute and cheeky, or if it was any piece of like old concept art. But for her to be there, and she was teased in Tales Tube, still hasn't been in anything. This is a fun piece of concept art. This is Sega laying some seeds. They want us, they're going to do something, but I don't know what, because they haven't said, and I have no idea if they really are going to say something in 4 days.
But no, I think it underscores, though, that first act was for us, like the 4 of us specifically.
That's right. It is jam-packed. I mean, the fact that we hear the live and learn chords, and we hear the sign twirls, so we get the ending act thing. I feel like was there some other music cue early on? There's definitely more Sonic music in this movie.
Yeah.
Yes.
More than the other 2 combined, which is sort of sad to say. But also it's good to know that they are starting to lean into that. Like, you have all this great Sonic music. I know they played the the Green Hill piano thing again. I guess it's just gonna be here forever in these movies.
Yeah.
Like, if that's Tom's theme because it's Green Hill and that's just what he listens to while he's doing nothing, I'm okay with that. Why not? You called the place Green Hills. Play the music when you're in Green Hill.
The first act really had great Sonic action, what you want to see visually that you actually haven't really seen too much for extended periods without something getting in the way, because this is peacetime Sonic racing with his buddies, and he's just doing cool stuff. He's like doing poses from the game. He's spin dashing. He's drop dashing. He's doing all these tricks. And Tails and Knuckles are looking cool too. And then you see them in action and they're doing the poses, but they're also doing the relatively cool thing of getting their asses kicked to see how powerful the new rival is. You see them both ways, winning and losing, to reset the stakes, to reset the power levels. It is not until Act 2 that it's a little bit into the movie before we see Jim Carrey. And then it feels like Jim Carrey really, in a good way, takes over the movie, or like half of the movie. But for that first act, he's just not there yet.
Yeah. Yeah, we don't even see him until after they fight Shadow. Like, because I know there's some people who are like, is there too much? I mean, if he's not in the first half hour, can you say if Jim Carrey was there from scene 1 and never left the screen, then I could see someone going, there's too much Jim Carrey. But like, this is a story it's about Shadow, it's about the Robotniks, and it is about Sonic. Like, Sonic is still a core component. Like, he has an arc. It shows him, and the way that he interacts with his friends, with his family. Like, just like the first 2, this is still a Sonic the Hedgehog film. It is not Sonic as a cameo, Sonic as a sidekick. This is still, we're focusing on Sonic, but we also have to focus on Shadow, and we have to focus on the Robotniks, because they are central. Like, in SA2, there's a reason Eggman's a playable character in that game, because it's just as much Eggman's story as it is Sonic. And you have to do that with SA2 if you're going to service that story, even if it is an adaptation and things have changed. And that's what they do. You can't ignore it. The film would fall apart if it was just like, yeah, and Jim Carrey gets 10 minutes of screen time. Like, no, what are you doing? He has to be core to this. And they know that, and it works. Like there's a reason it's doing as well as it is. And I guess it also shows the strength of the framework of SA2, why so many people love that game, specifically the game's story. And it just strengthens all of that. So yeah, Act 2 becomes a Robotnik story. It's really good, but it's still Sonic's. It's still Shadow's.
I saw some complaints that, just when they're, really committing to this is a serious Sonic Shadow fight, then we got to cut to Jim Carrey doing some goofball stuff, and like they're not able to commit to the tone. But I actually think that it's well planned, because if you only lean into the Dragon Ball Z stuff, you do unintentional humor where they're like, no, this is also a comedy. Our humor is going to be intentional. You're not going to be laughing because Shadow's the edgiest person ever. You're going to be laughing because Jim Carrey has praying mantis arms.
Yes, absolutely. Smoovies, please edit in some sort of, maybe Smoovies can say something like, yeah, preach, bitch, because it's like, I just agree with what you're saying, I think you guys are saying it really well.
There was too much Jim Carrey in Sonic 3. They kept cutting away from the serious and cool supersonic fight to the very silly old man fight. I paid to see two giant talking hedgehog aliens that can fly with the power of rainbow rocks. I did not pay to see a movie made for kids and families. Unforgivable, unfunny, unsubscribed.
But yeah, I know we're sort of jumping ahead to Act. You mentioned Act 3. I just gotta. I guess we have sort of talked about it, but the fact we do get to see two super forms fight, we don't get that ever in the game. Sonic turns super, and he fights a thing.
Yeah,
he fights giant monsters,
giant lizards.
I love it when he fight, Perfect Chaos, Bio Lizard, Metal Overlord. Like, yeah, fight big giant crazy things. I like that. I love it, but we never get to see two super forms go up against each other. And we definitely get that. Like, and it makes so much sense because we already got a Sonic and Shadow fight. And they're still, they're going up against each other. To just have them fight again or to immediately team up as super forms, it might seem a little like you missed a trick. I never felt like we missed it in the games, like, we never got to see Super Sonic and Super Shadow fight. But it makes so much sense here, especially when everything is heightened because, Tom has been injured. Is he going to make it out alive? Spoilers, he does. Tom doesn't die. Sorry. And then for everyone who was like, is Sonic going to leave Earth? Spoilers, no, he's still there. I don't know why you thought he was going to leave and Tom was going to die. Like, I never thought those things would happen in this film. But there was a moment when Tom got punched by Shadow where it was like, oh God, what if they actually do kill Tom? Like, what if this is it? Like, James Marsden is pulling an X-Men 3 because he's going to make Mario Returns, over at Illumination and has to leave. Like, but no, that's not what happened. He's still there.
Oh, he's playing Waluigi for sure.
I do think the writers did a very nice job with climax of movie 2 is Sonic goes super. And now you've got the problem of, okay, he can solve any problem if he just goes super. And Maddie brings that up. He gives a reason not to. And then he's like, you know what? I'm going to do it anyway. And they solve that problem. The only movie that I think did it as well or better is The Matrix 2. Neo becomes Superman at the end. And then, we got to have another movie. And he's just going to blow through all the enemies. And they dismiss it with a single word. He says, upgrades.
Yeah.
In the second movie, and then it's like, okay, we're back to.
I can't believe in Matrix they installed Windows 98 over the original Windows 95. It was.
I do like how the movies build on each other as well. Like like when Super Shadow blocks the punch from Supersonic at the fan screening, big cheers. And every time I've seen it, which is just a couple times, how many times? Who can count? Who can say?
17.
Big thrill. But I love it. The callback to Death Egg Robot, Supersonic, and Sonic 2. It does feel like each movie is part of an overarching. It does feel like the franchise has legs to it, and it feels like they're the second post credits trailer with Shadow. I don't think anybody thought he was going to be dead, but like that also like eliminates the sort of Sonic Heroes thing, or it like leaves it open anyway.
Yeah.
If you want to do Shadow clones, you can do Shadow clones. If you want to do Shadow's Black Doom origin, which we just spent the past year of Shadow establishing is important and not embarrassing and actually really cool. And then the movie supports that by being like, yeah, like, did Gerald have to invent him? Not really, because the important thing is Gerald is experimenting on him and that he's this source of power. How did you guys feel about, because I've seen some fan discussion about also the like, oh, we didn't, like Gerald was always evil is too different from the games. But I don't really think it is. I mean, the one thing that's different is we see him alive, but he's as angry as he is at the end of SA2 just throughout the movie here.
Mm-hmm.
But in Generations, we do see like the like, you know, more thoughtful version of Gerald, but it's also prior to Maria's death.
I would say we don't really get a good sense of who Gerald is before Maria dies. Like, was he always super evil, or was he more like, oh, I'm devoted to science, so maybe I'm not going to think about the ethical side of experimenting on Shadow? But he clearly did, like, if he always had Maria with him, and Maria seems as well adjusted as she does, I don't think she's that way if he's just 100% evil from day one. Like, there might be shades to it, you know, maybe she just pulls the best out of him, and otherwise he's kind of yeah. And also,
I think that's the implication, is like the wheels come off once she's gone.
right. I mean, because also, I guess, however Gerald and Shadow are interacting back then, because we don't, you know, most of when Shadow's thinking about the past, he's thinking about him and Maria. He's not really thinking about Gerald. But if he perceived Gerald as a threat, I don't know if he would just sit around and hang out, or if he was, then he'd be like, I'm here to protect Maria from her family. Like, I don't think Gerald is meant to be evil. We don't even know why they decided to shut things down, and why Gerald burst into that room and said, we have to get out of here now. And there's enough things left open that can either be explored in, you know, later material, be it the sequel or a spin-off show or even a Shadow movie if they really wanted to. Like, I'm not saying they should make a Shadow movie, but I think there's enough to, like, if they want to explore things a little bit more somewhere, maybe even a comic book. I think there is supposed to be a Koro Koro special that's the origin of Shadow, but I don't know if that would have anything to do with the actual canon of these movies, because it's not coming out in English, and these movies are written in English first, so
Yeah.
they're not writing that comic.
It's kind of weird that they show a lot of scenes where Shadow is being experimented on. Gerald is never around when they do it. It's always like nameless scientists, and Maria is there, like she, exchanges him to like a teddy bear or something, but you don't see Gerald there. I think the only scene that we see in the past, like Shadow with Gerald, is when Maria dies. Actually,
This is the benefit of having seen it multiple times. You do actually see him in the first flashback, but you don't. It's because he hasn't been introduced in the movie yet. But you can, like, if you're looking for it, his silhouette is there. And I think David, the implication is that the reason they were shutting it down is because Gerald was cheating it somehow. Like, he was the reason that, like, remember when there's like the readings are coming out and it's going crazy? It's because he was like trying to like manipulate, but they do call it chaos energy, which is also really exciting. Yeah. And anyway, I think it was just kind of like Gerald is like kind of like absolute evil from the point that we meet him, because that's the point of his character in the movie.
So, I mean, I know he's absolute evil in the present. I'm just saying, like, in the past, are we meant to think that he's absolute evil?
I don't know.
With Maria,
that's
which I'm
right.
okay with.
I think you say. I think you raised the interest. Like, I think Maria being
who she is.
Yeah.
If you're absolute evil, I don't know if you can raise someone who is as well adjusted as she seems to be in that movie.
Yeah.
But we also don't know what's going on with his kids. We don't even know why. Like, I guess Gerald's in prison. That's why he can't be with Ivo. But we don't really know then what was Ivo doing. Where was he? What were his parents? We don't. There's
Right. He was in
still
an
a lot of.
orphanage.
He was at an orphanage. We don't know what happened to his
We don't know.
parents. We don't even know
There's
what
a whole
happened to Maria's
generation of
parents.
robotics that
That-
are lost,
Yes,
unexplored yet.
yes. But I would think that Gerald wasn't 100% evil in the past, but he maybe did things that definitely could be interpreted as evil depending on how he was going about with this research. But once Maria died, any pretense of him being a good person vanished in that moment. Definitely.
Right.
So,
How about the other humans? So we got
yeah.
Maddie contributing on the supersonic. It doesn't solve every problem. I feel like, Johnny, you pointed out Tom getting punched. I think is like pretty smart, actually. Like, gives Sonic the stakes he need to match Shadow's energy. Wade has one scene cameo, which I feel like is maybe the peak of the Wade in the movie so far.
Right.
That
That
what
was
do
a
you
Clerks
think about the
callback,
other
right?
humans?
Yeah, that was definitely a Clerks
That was
reference.
definitely clear. I mean, in a movie that wants to say, "Hey, remember the '90s?"
Oh,
Because we do have a moment where both
Yeah.
Tom and Maddie go, "Yeah, remember the '90s?" Yeah, I do. That's where Sonic comes from.
and so that's why he's playing hockey in the roof.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's what happens in
With
Clerks.
the uniform.
You know, they
Clerks.
shut down the quick stop and they go up
And
there.
they're the Green Hills Wolves, or Timber Wolves, possibly.
Mm.
But it's a wolf on the jersey.
Yeah. Sorry,
A werewolf, maybe.
Yes, I interrupted, Bo. Continue. Right. Wade, pinnacle
No,
of
just-
Wade.
Setting up you guys to talk the humans. I feel like it was the right use of Tom.
Mhm.
Yes.
Good support by Maddie.
Yes.
You know, I could go back and forth on whether we needed Randall and
Rachel.
sister Rachel
Right.
in that role, but you know, you do kind of need it because they need to set up the hologram thing, which then sets up Tom as Commander Walters. Like,
That's part of like the trilogy building on itself,
Yeah.
where I appreciated those callbacks. And the Commander Walters thing was the only human component that I thought was maybe a little, just his death
That's
felt weird.
Olive Garden guy, right?
Olive
Right.
Garden guy.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right.
He's Abraham Towers, right? From the
Right.
games.
Right.
In this, although he has a different name
He does have a different
Yeah.
name.
in this one.
Yes.
See, should he have said something while he was dying, like, "This isn't the garden I thought I'd go out in," or would that have undercut the?
Oh my god. It's weird that he dies like that. It's like I think it's
I
think it was a
Well, it's a
real
little ambiguous because Kristen Ritter isn't totally sure he's dead. So.
That's
Right.
true.
yeah,
Commander-
exactly.
It's not
What-
confirmed. He could reappear.
Yeah.
what's her name? Not Director Rockwell. Was that it?
Rockwell.
Yes.
Yeah.
Played by
Right.
Kristen Ritter.
Right. I know she.
Jessica Jones.
Right. She.
Jessica Jones.
The movie does a brief thing where it seems like, are we supposed to think that does she have some ulterior motives? Is she a little evil? Like, why is she going after the card? But that sort of disappears. And afterwards, it really felt like to me, they're setting her up because she's going to be the next commander. Like, she's going to take over the Walters role. And because she is not an old man, she can actually participate more in the adventures of Sonic and his friends. And that's what it felt like. Like, she's just sort of there as a transition, like saying goodbye to Walters, saying hello to her, but there is not enough room in this movie to really do anything more with her. Or if maybe there were like a couple scenes that were cut at some point that kind of felt like, okay, here's the end of her for now.
Yeah, the edit felt a little visible there. I do think they can make good on it if they make her villain more important next time, because it is okay. She's introduced. Okay, she's going after the card. Okay, she has the gravity fight and the very funny race with Jim Carrey to get the card.
Yeah.
But then that's the end for her.
And we've already seen like rogue gun agents on Knuckles, right?
That's true.
That's true. Yeah,
so
that's a
she
good point.
felt a little bit like that, I think.
Definitely true, but it's not. But we don't necessarily like she's like a mild foil and a red herring, I guess, because like it doesn't really go and could be set up for maybe she is a partner like Wade was to Knuckles. She can be for if they ever introduce Rouge. There could be
Right. She can be the towpath.
something there if they want to do that in a comic book that they want us to write, something like that, or a movie. We're here and we interview writers.
Which is something people actually thought about when they first told that she was in this movie. It was like, oh, maybe she's like Rouge's voice.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or maybe like Rouge is a human in this universe.
Right.
Our friend of the show, Barry of Sega Bits, has a theory that all of the human characters will eventually morph into
Oh my
game
god!
characters.
Sure.
It did work
So-
in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, so it might work
Mhm.
here. But I
Right.
don't think
And
so.
I mean, in that original 94 Sonic movie pitch, Sonic was a human teen who gets stabbed with some magic goop and he turns into Sonic after eating some bugs as well. We can't forget that part. Yummy, yummy. I'm so glad Sonic just eats normal food in these movies. Like, he loves chili dogs. We see him eat popcorn.
Yeah.
Like, I'm glad there isn't a weird, like, yeah, I'm a hedgehog, so I'm gonna eat bugs. I don't think they even do a joke where, like, Tom's like, here's some weird animal product that you should eat. And he's like, ew, no, I eat normal things. They haven't even done that. Oh, I was going to say there's no fart joke in this movie, but I guess there kind
there
of
is at the
is.
very
There
end.
is.
Kind of
It's
is.
just
Yeah.
not
In
with
fact, there's-
Sonic. It's not
There's
with
kind
Sonic.
of two fart jokes, really. There's the fart that happens at the end when Gerald's butt is pricked by the would you call it, the
Quill?
Quill, thank you.
Yes.
Of
Yeah.
Shadow or Sonic, I think. Either
Right.
way.
It's the Sonic Quill. It's
Sonic
glowing.
Quill pokes Gerald's butt. But then also when we see Robotnik and his burrito, it sounds like farts when
Right.
Yeah, when he puts the sauce there.
he puts the sauce on it.
Which, by the way, you were talking about Gerald's death, right? To me, it was baffling. Like, I never expected him to be evaporated in that scene. It was like, oh my god! I mean, everything else in the movie, it was like, oh, it's okay. Like, even when Tom was like punched by Shadow, I was like, oh, wow, they did that. But that scene was, to me, it was like, oh my god, what?
He does have to die, I guess, and it's a good way to like have some sort of stakes. It was very surprising. It's like it's kind of like for me it was like a laugh, but not like a ha ha ha, like a sustained laugh, but more just like a surprise of like, oh, I guess that's
it.
it was more like a oh
Yeah, but
That's
it's
a
like,
wrap for
oh,
Gerald.
this life has
Right.
gone.
I mean, he could have just been like, I'm 110. And then he was like, wait, I'm 110. And then just died. And it was like, oh, right.
Yeah, I think that's it. There was no gag. Like, they could have shown him like, oh, I can't believe I'm dying, and then he dies, like a Disney villain dying.
Right.
It was just like sudden, like poof, like a bug, and they do the bit like about
bug
being
Bug zapper.
yeah, the bug
Yeah.
zapper, exactly. Yeah,
Right.
So speaking of the burrito, though, I feel like there's two things of 2024 Sonic that stand out to me. One is the musical in the Knuckles show, and two is the telenovela in the movie.
Right. As
Great.
everyone knows, Shadow loves Latinas. And
Mhm.
I think it's become canon
Yeah.
because he's very invested in that show. I guess, Robotnik, Ivo Robotnik is invested. And Shadow, I guess he's just a chip off the old Robotnik block it that way. Like he's just fallen in.
Yeah, he has a great line about how she shouldn't choose between either of the twins, and she should just kill them both.
Kill them both.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah,
and the whole Latina thing, it's because she's called Maria, right?
Is that where the meme came from?
I mean, that's the joke.
Okay. Like I guess I don't know where it started. I just know at some point it was that, and also coffee, and nobody ever talks. There was zero mention of Hot Pockets, unfortunately, in this film. Clearly, we didn't get the memo.
No Olive Garden as well.
yeah.
No, right. I'm surprised there
I gotta pay
wasn't.
for that sponsorship.
Right, because there was a Chow Garden. I'm surprised there wasn't
Yeah.
one reference, which
on that same train of thought, they could have also referenced the like, hey, you sound like Keanu Reeves in Speed, but I'm glad they didn't like call that out.
Yeah.
There are some jokes that I feel like, and maybe Olive Garden is one of them, that is just like, it's run its course. Like they did what it.
They do a little fourth wall stuff, but
Right.
Jim Carrey,
I liked the
they
fourth
didn't.
wall
Yeah,
robotic joke. That worked for me. I also liked the dance. I can see those both being contentious to people who want a serious Gerald.
Right.
Maybe I just like
think
that
the
song
dance,
too.
The dance really redeemed
Right. What was the song
the
again?
dance scene in Sonic 2.
Every movie has an extended dance number,
Right.
and they get
What
sort of
was
more
the best
elaborate.
one?
Right. I'm trying. What was the song again? I can't remember the name of it.
Chemical Brothers Galvanize.
Galvanize. Okay. Yeah.
Push the button.
Yeah. And he lip syncs the words, so it's like
yeah.
you really are dancing to the song. It's not something they put in after the fact.
Which is something he did on Sonic 1, if you think about it.
Mhm.
Right.
Yeah,
That
the
is just
VR.
that's right. It's just continuing what Robotnik does.
So yeah, it's on character.
All the characters are being built out, I feel, and it's because it's a movie and not a video game, so it's the point is to tell a story and to build out the characters. So, but it's still very, very fun as longtime fans to get to see that much thought and care put into how they interact with each other, and how to like streamline their stories and like the essences of their character and kind of make it work it feels like Ultimate Marvel. It feels like when Ultimate Spider-Man was coming out, of like, oh yeah, this is happening,
Oh yeah.
I really like the needle drops in this movie too. Like the music choices were very good.
Yeah.
Better than the first two.
Right.
And so much live and learn, like throughout the entire movie.
Yeah.
They play live and learn.
Yeah.
Like in the first 30 minutes, like live and learn all the time, and then in the last 30 minutes is like live and learn with lyrics.
Right.
Yeah.
Like there's Johnny Gioli, who I guess this version
He's singing.
he is singing, and he's like, use my voice in this movie. That's not what I'm suing you for, Sega. But yeah, the audience definitely like thinking like what were the big cheer moments, like right, like the super fight that was good. There was definitely cheering when Live and Learn started. Definitely cheering, of course, with the mid credit scene. There's definitely like those moments that pop, and I'm so glad that Live and Learn was central. Like it does tie together. Maria wrote the song. That's what plays when Shadow thinks he's going to sacrifice himself. Like it all worked. And even though they didn't have like the bio lizard and there's all of his little egg spawn running around, like there are definitely eggs that they have to run around. It's Robotnik's eggs that they're fighting.
But how great was the bio lizard reference as the like Godzilla black and white movie that he and Maria are watching, which makes him feel alien, which is like the purpose of BioLizard in the games, to make him like look at himself in a different way. His look there is like heartbreaking.
Yeah.
The movie has several like really good like heart punch moments that people will be online bragging. Oh, they brag about how they cry. Oh, I teared up here at this. Yeah, we're all tearing up.
Yeah,
we're all tearing up. Who? Not a dry eye in the house. We're all cheering. We're all weeping. You laugh. You cry.
Is there anyone here
scream.
who didn't tear up?
Wait, the helicopter line got me.
I teared up for Tom, like for Tom dying.
Yeah.
I think that was I actually thought they were gonna kill Tom. And that would be really sad. That would be
I didn't think they were going to.
Great way to parallel it. Great way to like make Sonic, the main character, be the one to grieve. And also, how great is it that Shadow changes his mind? He has a change of heart. He doesn't just remember the other part of her sentence and be like, "Oh, right, whoops, sorry about that."
Right.
He has to, and Ivo and Gerald, Ivo has to choose against the way that Gerald is viewing it and realize that he's not evil in that way, or he doesn't want to kill everything. He wants love is what he wants. He wants power because that's what he thinks is going to get him love. But Gerald is just not. He's just like a void.
He wants to watch the world burn by shooting a giant laser at it.
I couldn't believe that they blew up the moon.
Yes.
And giving Shadow a gun. These are things that I thought were like so off limits for the character. as a fan thinking that I know things, but they don't know anything.
Right.
Clearly, because Shadow had a gun and they blew up the moon.
Yeah.
Right, because at the end, when it was like, oh, Sonic and Shadow are working together, Robotnik is fighting his grandfather, I was like, oh, there was that moment in the trailer where they shoot the moon. Was that just for the trailer? And then it was like, no, it happens. It just isn't going to happen the way you think it is. And I like that. I thought it was funny. Like, I'm glad we still had that visual iconography, even though it didn't really, it wouldn't have fit the way it does in the game in the structure of the film, because Gerald doesn't want to hold the world hostage. He's just like, yeah, let's do it. And I do like there is the reverse scene. Like, instead of seeing Shadow and Amy on the Ark having a heart-to-heart, you have Gerald and Shadow having a moment. And Shadow's like, would Maria have wanted this? And Gerald's like, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
They killed her. You know what happened. You were there. Like, and so the fact that that Sonic and Shadow are able to have then their heart-to-heart, and it is, like you said, he is just changing his mind. He's looking at things differently. He's seeing, like, he is just coming into his own instead of recovering from amnesia. Because technically in this film, whatever amnesia he had when he landed on Earth, he still has it. But that's not what's driving this story.
Yeah.
In SA2, it is, I don't really remember what happened. I think Maria wanted me to do this. Oh, wait, she didn't. So it is nice that we get to explore all of these different aspects. And it is also nice that that Sonic and Shadow have a heart-to-heart, because through the course of these three films, Sonic is the central focus. It's about his journey and him being accepted and loved. And like you said, Jandê, we get to see the difference between Sonic and Shadow and why they are different and how they got to this place. So for them to come together, it works really well thematically, not just for this film, but over the course of the trilogy. And it makes the whole thing like really solid and really good. And to go, there's been 3 great Sonic movies, doesn't make any sense in if you said that in 2018, and yet we've gotten to that point. And I'm excited. It makes me excited for what comes next, because certainly the post-credit scene made me excited for what's coming next.
Yes.
Yeah, that's where we should
I didn't think that I could hear a louder scream than I did for Shadow movie 2. But in the screening that I was at, Eruption for Amy.
Yeah.
I think also because just the pacing of the scene is so good.
Right.
So for Amy or for Metal Sonic? Because Metal Sonic to me was okay, but Amy was incredible.
Yes, it was for Amy, because at first it was like, holy shit, it's metal, and then it's like, okay, Sonic's got you can't sneak up on Sonic, but that's like, oh shit, it's an army of metals. Like, oh, okay, and then Amy's when it was like, it sounded like the Beatles.
When the hammer comes up, it's like
Maxwell's silver hammer. I mean Amy's hammer.
Yeah.
But you're right. This is a good place to wrap up. So here comes Empire City.
Whoa, man, that's right. This has been an extra long episode, but you know why? Because we've been talking about Sonic the Hedgehog 3, the film, not the game. We've talked about the game before, but we needed to talk about the movie. That's what everyone wanted. We finally got it. It hit a home run right out of the park. And hey, if you think we hit a home run out of this park because you got to the end of another episode of Sonic Weekly and you really enjoyed it, you should, of course, hey, why not? Comment. That's why you should subscribe to this podcast with your podcatcher of choice. You know, if you stuck around and because you heard that interview last week and you're like, I wonder what they think without actual Sonic people hovering over them. Well, you've gotten a real good taste. So hey, if you liked it, go ahead, click subscribe using your podcatcher of choice, be it Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or for the Android faithful, Podcast Addict. That's got our seal of approval. It's got Bo's seal of approval. I don't have an Android device. And you can, of course, do the thing. Leave a review. Give us a star, 5 stars, thumbs up, whatever the rating system is. But if you reject all podcatchers, we are also over on YouTube at Sonic-Weekly, where it is joined with video footage filmed by a friend of the show, Jack of Old Games. So it gives you a little something to tantalize the eye as you tickle those eardrums, or whatever you want to call that.
Jesus.
Cut that in post. No.
Extend it.
Extend it in post. Double it. Put an echo on it.
Yeah.
Hey, if you want to reach out to the show, we do have an email address, sonicweeklypodcast@gmail.com. Drop us a line. We do a mailbag segment every once in a while. We want to hear what you thought of the film. Do you agree with us? Do you disagree? We can dive in. I'm sure we'll be dissecting this film over the coming weeks and months as we wait until 2027 for Sonic 4, which seems so far away. But it's not really, if you think about the timeline of the universe. Drop us a... Hey, yeah, you know what? It's fine. We also have a Discord.
I love it.
Yeah, we have a Discord server. You email us, ask us for that link, and you'll get it. And you can talk to some like-minded Sonic the Hedgehog fans about many things, including, but not limited to, Sonic the Hedgehog. You also get that Discord link if you want to support the show in a financial way. We do have a Ko-fi. We're just Sonic Weekly over there. You can throw in a one-time tip, or you can become an executive producer for $5 a month to help, offset the cost of hosting and editing and all of that. Just like Pig Dan, Pabsy, Sonic Who Savings Throws, and Cal. They are our current EPs. So, hey, you can be one of those too if you so desire. But, we appreciate you just sticking around, listening, taking part, enjoying Sonic. We all enjoy Sonic. Got to thank the editor. We got to thank Smoovies for the edit. Thank you for that. He's the one that put in all those things that Grant asked him to do. Got to thank our guest once more, Jandê. Thank you for joining us in the, it's not really the second half. It's like the last 3/4, I'd say, of the show. It would be remiss if I didn't thank my fellow co-hosts, Bo and Grant. Thank you not just for being here this week, but thank you for being here all year for the three of us to get together and jam about Sonic the Hedgehog, about the Rings of Saturn, about life, love, about the Beatles, about everything that we just can't help but talk about.
Our year.
Thank you for the year, and I hope to thank you again at the end of next year, because why not?
Thank you. Thank you, David. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Bob. Thank you. Bye.